I love Batman. I think when it comes to a lot of superheroes and comic books in general, Batman has always fallen into my top 3 favorite characters, alongside Spider-Man and Wolverine. Now, while those two have amazing superpowers that any child at the age of 10 would love to have,
we'll take the claws.
Batman was different. I mean, he's just a regular guy like you and me. Well, besides the fact that he's a highly intelligent detective who's mastered over 100 forms of martial arts and is at peak human strength. Oh, and he's also rich.
I bought the bank.
Batman as a character has always fascinated me. He's become such an iconic superhero over the years that I feel like it's almost impossible at this point for people to not know the name Batman. Of course, there's the comics that have always been very popular, but there's also been the animated series, live action movies, video games, and even his theme song that has become memorable.
Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin Leonard, the Batmobile lost its...
Not that one. Batman has had a lot of interesting story arcs with well-written villains. So when I learned that there was a game series that not only had the voices of the original actors, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill from the animated series, the first 2 games also involved one of the writers from the animated series, Paul Dini. With everyone involved with an original story for The Dark Knight, in the year 2009, we were introduced to what was the beginning of one of the greatest superhero games of all time, Batman: Arkham Asylum. Before we were given Insomniac's incredible Spider-Man game alongside Miles Morales, we had Batman: Arkham Asylum. The game was developed by Rocksteady, who were also responsible for creating Arkham City and Arkham Knight. You're quickly thrown into the world as Batman, who is taking the Joker to Arkham Asylum once again for his heinous crimes. What seemed to be another day in Arkham turned into a big part of Joker's plan. He simply wanted to take over the asylum, and it was up to Batman to stop him. When it comes to games that have you play as well-known characters, I think it's important for the players to actually feel like the person they're using. Spider-Man PS4 made me feel like Spider-Man. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot made me feel like Goku. Arkham Asylum made me feel like the Dark Knight himself. As you would explore the asylum to find the Joker, you would come across his henchmen, which would initiate the combat system. And man oh man, is it fun to fight in this game. The Arkham games has a rhythmic combat system, which is basically, as you deal damage to your foes, you enter a flow-like state which allows your character to gain more points the longer your streak goes. You can implement counters, finishers, and even gadgets like your Batarang to quickly defeat everyone. But the way Batman finishes people, I swear they should have a feature where you get a Mortal Kombat-like X-ray. Of course, there's a lot of stealth that is included because of the Dark Knight, and the game has many sections in Arkham where you need to quietly take everyone out without being seen. This was a great feature included in the game because as you slowly pick everyone off one by one, Batman is able to use a gadget called Detective Mode, which not only allows him to see through walls and people, you can even see the status of their heart rates and how paranoid they slowly become. And as you progress throughout the story, the Joker slowly begins finding ways to prevent Batman from casually taking out all of his henchmen. So it's never an easy feat for you to get things done on the first try. I mean, except for me. I'm Batman.
He needs some milk!
Outside of the combat and stealth system, Arkham Asylum also has Batman actually be a detective. Whenever you're in a certain area, you can activate your detective mode to search the room and find pieces of evidence to progress throughout the story. It's a very simple system that gets the job done, and I'm glad Rocksteady didn't forget this important aspect about Batman's character. The story of Arkham Asylum is something that I felt aged extremely well in the gaming world. With the rivalry between Batman and Joker being the main focal point of the game, Rocksteady has managed to create an atmosphere that felt extremely eerie and suspenseful for the players as they would progress throughout the story. Through the progression, you were able to upgrade different skills and unlock different gadgets that can help you along the way, which was pretty cool seeing the different variety of weapons Batman could use to take out henchmen. My personal favorite? The explosive gel. I'm sure they're fine. But the Joker wasn't the only major villain in the asylum. As a matter of fact, there was a decent amount of bad guys that Batman had to stop after they escaped their cells. Bane, Killer Croc, and Poison Ivy all had some of the most memorable boss fights in the game. And I can proudly say that I managed to beat Ivy's boss fight on the first try, which had me reacting like, thank you for coming. Yes.
Silence, over here.
Silence.
Yeah,
You over there. Silence. How did it feel being able to not only beat Poison Ivy, but beat her on your first try? Well, I don't want to be one to brag, but sometimes people are built different. This was just one of those cases where I am indeed built different. Oh, Silence, over
Silence,
here.
hey.
I have a question. Silence.
Silence, hey.
Yes, you, over there. Silence. The fact that you were able to successfully defeat Poison Ivy without any resets is amazing all on its own. How were you able to keep that momentum when defeating Bane and Killer Croc? What? Exploring the asylum was certainly what gave it its eeriness. Whether you're in the medical facility, botanical gardens, or even in the sewers, the game made the player always feel on edge. Finding different types of patients being interviewed also made things very creepy, but also fitting for the characters. I like the detail where as you continue pursuing the Joker, the island becomes more and more deranged. The rivalry between Batman and Joker has become so iconic, and it's great that they were able to intertwine the two for the first game of the Arkham series. And even though there are other villains included in the game, Rocksteady didn't take away from the fact that Joker is in full control and is the reason why all of this is going on in the first place. So being able to defeat him became way more satisfying in the end. Besides the main story, you can also play different challenge modes to test out how well you can play the game. There's the combat mode where you fight a wave of henchmen to try to get the high score, and Predator mode where you silently take everyone out while being timed. Both were very fun to play, and as you progress through the levels, the harder they get. There's even a DLC for the Scarecrow where you play as... I love Batman. I think when it comes to a lot of superheroes and comic books in general, Batman has always fallen into my top 3 favorite characters, alongside Spider-Man and Wolverine. Whoa. Okay. Sorry about that. Anyways, there's the DLC for the Scarecrow, which is pretty much the combat game mode, but against his hallucinations. All in all, if you truly believe you're Batman, then try out the challenge modes to see how well you can do. And for those who love to collect items, good luck. The Riddler has filled the asylum with a bunch of trophies and clues for you to search for all over the place. For me, I'm on the same boat as all my fellow completionists. I see a chance to 100% a game and I take it. And even though there are maps that make finding the trophies easier, I just watched YouTube videos to find them all. Because having to find 240 trophies was not exactly a fun time in my book. But I did like the fact that the game scattered the trophies all around the map in unique spots, so it made it somewhat challenging trying to stop the Riddler. Playing Arkham Asylum really showed me how well a superhero game can be developed if the characters are given the right team behind them. And it's amazing how well Rocksteady created an atmosphere for the players to always feel on edge as they progress throughout the asylum. Hearing the voices of Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill gave a sense of nostalgia, like I was rewatching another episode from the animated series. Batman Arkham Asylum has certainly become one of the greatest video games to be released, and if you haven't played already, then do yourself a favor and pick it up and try it yourself. You will truly feel like the Dark Knight himself. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Take care, everyone.